10 episodes. I want to take a moment to acknowledge what that means. You have spent 10 episodes sitting with some of the hardest material a person can face. You looked at what happened in your home. You named the patterns. You traced the lines between then and now. You made room for grief. You made room for anger. You sat with the complicated truth of forgiveness. That is not small. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding exactly what you have been walking toward. And I want to honor that. Before we go anywhere else today, I want you to acknowledge it too, just for a moment. In this episode, the final episode of Act 1 of this series, we are going to talk about choice. Not the choice of whether your past happened. It did. Not the choice of whether it affected you. It did. But the choice, the one that becomes available once you have done the kind of work you've been doing, about what you do with all of it, about who gets to be the author of the rest of your story. Every child is handed a story. Not a written one, not explicit, but a story nonetheless, told through the way they were treated, the messages they absorbed, the conclusions they were guided to draw about who they are and what they deserve, and how the world works. For children who grew up in toxic homes, that story often sounds something like this. You are too much, or not enough. You are the problem. You have to earn your place. Love is conditional. Your feelings are not trustworthy. The world is not safe. You are fundamentally different from other people, and not in a good way. You did not choose that story. You were given it before you had the capacity to question it, reject it, or write anything different. And for years, maybe decades, you have been living inside it, acting as if it were true, making decisions based on it, choosing relationships that confirmed it, treating yourself in ways that reinforced it. Not because you are weak, not because you don't know better, but because that story was the water you swam in, the air you breathed, the only reality you knew. Something happens when you do the kind of work this series asks of you. There is a moment. It doesn't always arrive with fanfare. When the story starts to feel less solid. When you can see it as a story, not as truth, not as fact, not as the inescapable reality of who you are, but as something that was constructed by people who were themselves limited, by a set of circumstances that had nothing to do with your actual worth. This is a profound shift. It doesn't erase the past. It doesn't make what happened okay. It doesn't instantly dissolve the patterns you've been carrying. But it creates space. Space between this is what I was told I am and this is what I actually am. Space between this is the story I inherited and this is the story I want to live. That space, as small as it might feel at first, is everything. Because in that space lives choice. The choice to question the narrative, the choice to gather new evidence, the choice to act differently, even when it feels unnatural, even when the old patterns pull hard, even when part of you is convinced that the old story is still true. I want to be careful here. I am not telling you that you can simply decide to be healed. I am not telling you that choice alone is enough. I am not minimizing the real embodied work of rewiring a nervous system, that was shaped by years of experience. That work is real, and it takes time, and it often requires support. But choice is the beginning, the intention, the direction, the decision that you are worth the effort of writing something new. Becoming the author of your own story does not mean becoming someone else. It does not mean erasing your history. It does not mean pretending the wound wasn't real. It does not mean performing wellness you haven't earned. It means slowly and deliberately choosing what you believe about yourself, not because it's easy, but because the old beliefs were given to you by damaged people in a damaged environment before you had any say. You are allowed to revise them. When the voice says, "You are not enough," you are allowed to say, "That is not mine, and I don't have to keep it." Choosing what you allow into your life, the relationships that mirror the old story, the ones where you have to earn your place, where love comes with conditions, where your needs are always secondary. You are allowed to choose differently. It will feel strange at first, unfamiliar, maybe even undeserved. That strangeness is not a warning sign. It is evidence that you are moving into new territory, choosing how you treat yourself. The voice that criticizes you before anyone else can, the way you push past your limits without question, the ease with which you dismiss your own pain, these are habits, learned ones, and habits can be interrupted. Not perfectly, not all at once, but one moment at a time. One choice to speak to yourself with the gentleness you would extend to anyone else you love. None of this is linear. You will move forward and then back. You will have weeks where it feels possible and weeks where the old story rushes back in like it never left. That is not failure. That is how healing works. Not in a straight line, but in a spiral. Each time you come back around, you are not in the same place you were. You know more. You have more tools. You have more evidence that a different way is possible. 3 things from today, and from this entire first act of this series. First, you were handed a story about yourself before you could choose it. That story is not the truth about who you are. It is what someone else, limited, perhaps wounded themselves, taught you to believe. Second, doing this work creates space between the inherited story and a new one. That space is where choice lives, and choice is the beginning of authorship. Third, becoming the author of your life does not mean erasing the past. It means deciding, consciously, repeatedly, imperfectly, that the past does not get to write the rest. 10 episodes. Act 1 is complete. We have named the wound. We have seen its shape. We have understood where it came from and where it went. And now, we begin to move. Not away from the past, through it. In Act 2 of this series, beginning with episode 11, we enter new territory. We move from understanding the wound to rebuilding what it took. Episode 11 begins with the foundation of everything that follows: self-worth. Not the kind that depends on achievement or approval. Not the kind you perform. The kind that is stable. The kind that doesn't collapse when someone criticizes you, or leaves you, or fails to give you what you need. The kind that was supposed to be given to you in childhood and wasn't. and what it looks like to build it now, as an adult, from the inside out. I'll see you there. You have earned this next part. Keep going.